Welcome back, everybody, to Treasures Galore. I want to apologize for not making any new content lately. I decided to take some time off for the holidays and kind of clear my head and get some new ideas to put out here for you guys. But I wanted to make a quick video on something I've talked about quite a bit, but I kind of want to reiterate it again because it keeps coming up in my comment section and emails. Everyone always tells me that all you need is the poem and a map. Well, like I mentioned in all my videos, I'm a book purist. I believe that that is the whole purpose. He wrote The Thrill of the Chase is for the treasure hunt, and you have to use the book to solve the clues in the poem. He has said all you need is the poem. So, what that means to me is that the 9 clues, which are the directions, like I said before, he has stated, I wrote a poem containing 9 clues, which, if followed precisely, will lead you to the end of my rainbow and the treasure. Okay, so the clues are something you have to follow precisely. They are specific directions to the treasure chest. Specific directions. So that brings up another point that I want to talk about with the 9 clues are the 9 sentences, which I do not agree with one bit. Because, as the sentence before the poem stated, that the clues are directions. So in the first stanza right here, let's read it. As I have gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where, and hint of riches new and old. Okay, so that's the first stanza and the first sentence. Is there any directions in there to you? I don't see any. I think he's pretty much telling you, since he went alone in there and he took his treasures, that's why he can keep his secret there, right? And then he can hint about his riches. Well, there's no specific directions. Now, these other stanzas might have hints, but they aren't clues as in specific directions to find the treasure chest. Now, if you haven't watched my video about what the 9 clues are, I would suggest that you watch that, but I'm just going to go through it real quick. So I believe the clues starts at begin, and then you end at cease. So it says begin here, take it here, it's this distance, stop here. From there, it's here, the end is drawing nigh. Now, I believe that is a specific direction too. 9 is on the left-hand side, and I'll bring that up in a later video. But then, there'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. So you'll see this or go by that, right? And then you got to find the blaze. Those are specific directions which lead you right to the chest. So it says, look quickly down, your quest to cease, but tarry scant. So he's telling you, your quest is ceasing, but you, yourself, tarry scant, which means don't linger with marvel gaze. Just take the chest and go in peace. So those are my, the 9 clues in the poem, which I believe. And like I always say in my videos, this is just my opinion. But, I always like to back up my opinion with things Forrest Fenn has said. Because if we're going to believe him that he hid a treasure chest, then I think we also should believe what he tells us, as other hints and whatnot. So I want to bring up a couple quotes, and I have a whole bunch of tabs open, so I might have to open up a few. But so why I believe that the 9 sentences are not the 9 clues. Okay, so in this interview on Terry Scant, this lady's reading the poem to him. So he says there are 9 clues in the poem, and if you can figure out those clues, they will take you to the treasure chest, and you can have it if you can find it. And then she says, well, some of them seem ... Some of the clues maybe are things that people locally would know. You say begin it where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down, not far but too far to walk, put in below the home of Brown. It seems like a couple of clues to me. Okay, so she read the second stanza, and then, excuse me, and then Forrest replies, "That sounds like or four to me, as in 3 or 4 clues. That sounds like 3 or 4 clues to Forrest." Okay, and then she goes on to say, "But it says there'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. Couple more clues there." Forrest replies, "Sounds like it to me." Okay, and I know critics will say, "Well, Finn says it sounds like, he's not going to give you the answer." But he actually does give you the answer. Now check out this other quote on Terry Scant. So the question is, you told a reporter that there are 3 or 4 clues in the second stanza. Were you telling the truth? Allison R. So she doesn't even say, she says you told the reporter that there are 3 to 4. Are you lying? So he says, "I don't know what it is about girls, but when I say something, they automatically ask if I'm lying. Shame on you, Allison R. I promise you that I get more things right than most reporters. If you were here, I'd make you take a dose of castor oil. Besides, if I lied to the reporter, what makes you think I would tell you the truth?" "Sorry, Allison, I'm off my soapbox now. No, I was not lying, but I don't remember telling a reporter. Sorry, let me read that again. Sorry, Allison, I'm off my soapbox now. No, I was not lying, but I don't remember a reporter asking me such a question." So he says, "No, I wasn't lying. There are 3 or 4 clues in the second stanza." So he really does tell us. Sounds like it to me, he is telling us absolutely there are 3 to 4 clues in the second stanza. So I think that kind of sums it all up. He does tell us too that, let me find it real quick. Okay, so I'll read this one too. "The problems searchers make is that they don't dwell long enough on the first clue, which he stated, the first clue is where warm waters halt. So, if you can't find the first clue, you don't have anything. People driving down the street looking for a blaze, because that's one of the clues. The blaze is a clue, ladies and gentlemen. The blaze is a clue. So if he's saying all this, that completely rules out the 9 sentences are the 9 clues. And like I said, that's my opinion, but from going off of what Forrest Fenn has told us, sounds like that the clues are from begin to cease. And that's just my opinion. And I think that also clears up the issue of what is it in the poem. It is your quest. Okay, so now that I got that out of the way, I want to go to, do you need the book, or can you just solve it with the poem? Well, if you're going to take anyone's advice, I would take Forrest Fenn's advice, wouldn't you? So he's been asked this 2 or 3 times, and he says the same thing over and over. And one of them, he says, if you're really serious about finding the treasure, this is what I do. But in this question, it says, what tips do you have for those wanting to find the treasure? What would Forrest Fenn do? Well, he tells us. Here it is. He replies, "Here is what I would do. Read my book in a normal manner. Then read the poem over and over, slowly, thinking. Then read my book again. This time, looking for subtle hints that will help solve the clues." So his advice is to read his book. But it also means that you need to study the poem and read his book. They go hand in hand. The poem is in the book. You got to study everything in the book. Okay? So, read my book. That's his advice to you. Well, he is asked this question. Is any specialized knowledge required to find the treasure? For instance, something you learned during your time in the military or from a lifetime of fly fishing? Or do you really expect any ordinary average person without your background to be able to correctly interpret the clues in the poem? M. Davis, 19. Forrest replies, "No specialized knowledge is required, M. Davis, 19, and I have no expectations. My Thrill of the Chase book is enough to lead an average person to the treasure." Okay. My thrill of the chase book is enough to lead an average person to the treasure. So, it does contain the poem, so that book is what you need. Not just the poem, else you would have said his poem. My thrill of the chase book is enough to lead the average person to the treasure. So, you do need the book. Okay, so I want to bring up this other quote on Terry Scant, August 23rd, 2011. Okay, Forrest, it doesn't have the question, but Forrest tells us, every day people call begging for clues. The other day I had 21 email requests. One man asked if I should buy a topographical map, and I told him he'd be better served reading the book again. So everyone's like, oh, the poem and a map. Well, he's telling us right here. I told him he'd be better served reading the book again. You got to study the book and then go to the maps to match them up. You need the book. You need the book. He keeps telling us over and over again. The book. The book. Here's another one. So I will start right here. It says, now you have done something quite unusual, I think fascinating to many, which is that you buried a treasure chest somewhere in the hills or mountains north of Santa Fe and left clues in your memoir, whereby people can find it. You left clues in your memoir, he says. Okay, so Forrest replies, that's true. I've taken this treasure chest to a very secret and very special place, and I've hidden it there. And there are 9 clues in my book. You have to read the book. Now let me say that again. You have to read the book. I don't think that there's any way that you can find this, find the treasure without the book. So I'm going to bring up another thing. Okay, Forrest was asked, you tell us that we should find where warm waters halt before trying to solve any of the other clues. Imagine that we haven't seen the rest of the poem and all we have to go on is begin at where warm waters halt and somewhere in the mountains north of Santa Fe. Do you think we can confidently determine the starting place for your treasure trail? Steve. No. If all you have to go on are those 2 clues, you cannot proceed with confidence. Look at it this way. If you were making a cake and left out some ingredients, would you achieve your goal? Your question reminds me of another. You leave home and walk straight line for a mile, turn 90 degrees left and walk a curved line for a mile and shoot a bear. Then you turn 90 degrees left again and walk a straight line back to your home. What color is the bear? Okay, so it's pretty much telling us if that's all you have to go on, then absolutely not, you cannot find it. Well, that makes a lot of sense, and that doesn't mean that you need the first stanza before to figure out where warm waters halt past, but you need the 9 clues to match up precisely, else how would you be able to walk with confidence? Like you said, there's a lot of places where warm waters halt. And in my opinion, he's not mentioning the exact warm waters halt, but any warm waters halt, because there's only one. So he's mentioning all of them. You can't proceed with confidence. Now that doesn't mean that the first stanza is a clue. He's just telling you that you need the other clues in the book to be able to walk with confidence. And that's just my opinion and my take on the matter. And I think that's about it for this video. Kind of want to make it short. Yeah, that's about it. Okay. So that's it, guys. You know, I'm a book purist, and I get people all the time cussing me saying that I'm dumb. All I need is a poem. Well, I study the poem just as much as a poem purist does. I've went through every line, every word. You know, I've studied it completely. But I go back to the book to look for clues that'll help me determine what I think is the correct interpretation for those. Now, I've also had a few people write me and tell me, you know, there's a lot of people who think punctuation's important. You know, I do think punctuation plays a role, maybe, but Chris Thor, you know, she on her Hint of Riches site, there was questions for that. And here's the exact quote from Forrest Fenn. Does the semicolon have specific meaning for the correct solve? If so, what? Forrest replies, no. Okay, now another question. Does punctuation have significance in solving the poem? If so, what? No. Forrest Fenn tells us no, punctuation is not important. So, I mean, you can take that or leave that. It's up to you. But in my eyes, I think Forrest Fenn is telling us straight up, no, it does not. He doesn't give us an answer that we have to decipher. He's directly telling us, no, punctuation does not play a big role. So, again, that's just what Forrest Fenn said. Don't get mad at me. I'm just relaying that information that I got. But anyways, guys, hope you guys had great holidays. I think I might be making a short video on what I think the home of Brown is. It's not a specific location because I'm not giving any specific locations besides what state I think the treasure is in, and I do believe it is in Montana. If you haven't checked out my video about Montana being the treasure state and the clues in the books which leads you to Montana, then I'd suggest that you check that out. So anyways, that's all I got for right now, guys. I will catch you guys later.